What's going on, folks, and welcome back to the Duck Roost Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Alan O'Brien, and I do not have my oldest son, Cade, my co-host, with me tonight. He is a junior in high school, and this is homecoming week, and he is caught up in the middle of a junior-senior war where they roll yards and, just all this type of nonsense going on between teenagers. But I'm excited to announce that I've got Mr. George Parker from Bluebird Waterfowl with me tonight on the phone, and he's going to tell us one, what Bluebird Waterfowl is. He's going to tell us about his product and how it all came to be, and I'm really excited about this product. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I really think it's going to be a game changer in the motion decoy world for us duck hunters, and I'm really excited about this product and really excited for y'all to hear about it. So, Mr. George, welcome to the Duck Roost Podcast.
Yeah, hey, how's it going, man?
Going good, man. How is things out in sunny California?
Oh, hot. It's hot again today. So, yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like duck season here yet, but it isn't duck season here yet. Northeast Zone opened up October 1st, but some of my buddies went up there to check that out, but they didn't have very good luck. So birds aren't really moving in here quite yet. We're seeing a lot of sprig, but California government's telling us there's no sprig left. So
yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, pretty much seeing nothing but sprig here. Yeah, so I don't know. Who knows?
Y'all seem to have an abundance of bull sprigs out there for somebody who claims to not have any. So
yeah, you're not kidding.
All right, well let's get into it. I know I've caught you on the Dr. Duck podcast and kind of got the rundown and the backstory of Bluebird Waterfowl, but my listeners may not have ever heard of you. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into waterfowl hunting, and how Bluebird Waterfowl came to be.
Yeah, so I started hunting not that long ago. It was only about 10 or 12 years ago. So my father was a deer hunter growing up, so we did some of that, but he never did any waterfowl. So it took me a while to meet some folks that actually were interested in waterfowl hunting, and it takes even longer to find folks that are waterfowl hunters that'll take out somebody with no experience. So right. You see a lot of junior hunters and stuff get that opportunity, but being an adult and being new to the whole scene, definitely not the easiest thing to get involved with. So I started hunting, back in 2009 or something like that, and it's been awesome ever since then. Just dollars going out.
That's right. That's your story is very similar to mine. I came from a family of deer hunters, with exception of my brother who used to hunt when he was a teenager. He's my younger brother. He's 7 years younger than me. But he and I were the only duck hunters in the family, and since then, with jobs and children and things like that, he's kind of lost interest and doesn't really do it as much. He may get out a time or two each year, but for me, it was a learning curve, because when I first got into it, I was 15 years old at the time, and I'm 37 now, so that's been pretty much the half of my life thus far. I didn't know nothing about it. There was no YouTube. There was nothing. So everything that I learned and picked up on even how to hunt, what a call was supposed to sound like, I got it from watching, the old Duck Commander VHS tapes that you could pick up at Walmart. So that's kind of how I figured it out, and fortunately for me, being a teenager at the time, I couldn't drive, didn't have a boat or anything like that. The deer hunting club that my dad was in, we had a camp house and all that. It was had a lot of backwater lakes and a lot of sloughs and stuff off the river. And down here in South Alabama, our number one duck is the wood duck. So we had an abundance of wood ducks, and we still do. So I just decided, I was like, look, you know what? I see these wood ducks all the time in these sloughs. I don't have any decoys or anything, but they always seem to come, in the same spot. So I'm just gonna go sit up on the bank, and I'm just gonna see if I can shoot some of them. And that's
right.
I did one morning. I just went out by myself, my shotgun and some steel shot, and killed a limit of wood ducks, and that lit a fire underneath me. And then, it's been nothing but waterfowl from here on out for me. I still do deer hunt from time to time. My kids enjoy it, but I really don't care anything about it other than just put some meat in the freezer. But waterfowl is, my world revolves around duck season and preparing for duck season, which is one reason I started the Black Belt Waterfowl YouTube channel, was because, you know, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people out there that were just like you and I, who didn't know anything about it, didn't have anybody to take them and mentor them and teach them things. So that was one reason, besides just documenting and videoing and recording the hunts that I've spent with my children and with my boys, was to help people, and teach people who don't know and didn't have a dad or granddad that were duck hunters that could teach them things. So it was, that's been my driving force, is to try to share knowledge and help people. And in the waterfowl world, some people, they kind of frown on that. They like, look, you got to do it right. You need to figure it out yourself, or it's a camaraderie type sport. It's not really something you do by yourself. And I'm a solo hunter for the most part, because 90% of my off days tend to be during the week. So I do a lot of solo hunting. But, so if there was no YouTube or anything like that, people would just have to go out there and try to figure it out on their own. And, it would take you a long time to typically achieve some success, especially with your bigger ducks, your mallards and pintails and things like that, because they're pretty weary birds. So my journey has been started off rocky, like most people do, not knowing nothing, kind of learning by mistake, and I got to where I am now. And I'm not the greatest by no means, but I can hold my own. I kill my share of ducks. We tend to average, anywhere from 150 plus each year, which is not a lot to some people, but that's still good numbers for this part of the world and the few places I do travel outside of the state.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, we're always trying to learn, and I think that's kind of where Bluebird Waterfowl started off, was just trying to be better and trying to use some creativity to change, some aspects of waterfowl hunting and waterfowling in general. Just to kind of see what we could do, and call it boredom or whatever it might be. But when you're sitting out there on a slow hunt, you got a lot of thinking time, and we ended up thinking of this product, and man, it just took a complete curveball and changed everything.
Right.
So this product's actually it's becoming quite popular, and I think it's for a particular reason. So our product basically is an attachment device that clips onto a spinning wing decoy. So we make this device for avian power flights. We make it for Mojo Elite Series, the large birds, and the minis. Mm-hmm. Right now we're working on the babies and the mid-size, but we also make it for the Mojo King Mallard, and we make it for the Lucky Duck.
Okay.
So 95% of Lucky Ducks are pretty much all the same, but there is one fitting that it doesn't fit. You can check out bluebirdwaterfowl.com/decoy-fitting to check your fitting, or you could just go to bluebirdwaterfowl.com. There's links all over there to figure out which one might work for you. But basically, it connects to the duck, onto the body of the duck, on the motor shaft, right where you would normally put your wing. Mm-hmm. And then the wing can connect on the outside of it. So it kind of sits in place. And this device drops down a carbon fiber rod into the water, and we've actually got 2 utility patents and a design patent pending on this product, because there's a unique thing that happens when the wing turns. That plate lifts up and down, and it hits the water, and it cups the water, and it splashes the water just like a bird's wing normally would. And what we found out over the period of the last couple of months, having a bunch of these prototypes out being tested all over the country, we got some really cool feedback from early teal, and now we're starting to see seasons open up across the country. We're getting feedback that the sound that this device makes, the clapping sound, when that wing spins and the plate hits the water, it correlates, right? So the wings are spinning, and it sounds like the wings are hitting the water.
Right.
And for some reason, this has got to be something way above my head. The birds just love it. They are just trying to get on that decoy. And it's something that I've never seen before. I've talked to a lot of guys that hunt with the Higdons, and they hunt with a lot of different motion ducks and all these different jerk cords and things like that. And a lot of great products have been out. But these same guys that are testing a lot of these other products are saying there's something special about this product. It's called the Animator. And Animator is the first product by Bluebird Waterfowl. We're going to end up coming out with a line of decoy accessories, but this first product, I think we just accidentally struck a chord in the waterfowl world, because we're starting to hear reports from ducks trying to land on top of the decoy. They're trying to land with the decoy as if the bird was landing. I'm sure we've all seen that, where one bird lands and another bird lands right next to it.
Right.
We see that all the time. But nobody's really ever intentionally tried to figure out what that attraction is, what the scientific basis behind that attraction is. And I think that we've done it. I think that wing clapping sound makes those birds feel comfortable and confident that there's live birds there. I was talking to Eric Hale from Red Rising TV, and he was out in Southeast Virginia, and testing these on some wood ducks.
Right.
And he had his boys out in the blind, and these wood ducks were swimming all the way up the creek, coming up and getting closer to the spread. And Eric told his buddies, don't shoot and don't turn the animator off. Leave it on. I want to see how close these birds actually come to this thing, because it sounds a little odd when you're listening to it as a human. It sounds a little loud when you're listening to it as a person. But it's because we're sitting in perfect silence, right? But these birds are very used to this, some harmonic sound that comes out of the water when something smacks it like that. And these wood ducks swam all the way up about 15 feet away. They swam right into the spread. And they swam through the spread to about 15 feet away from the animator before they picked up. And that was a huge revelation for me, because we always see, maybe I'm speaking out of my foot here, but I don't mean to speak for all waterfowl hunters, because I'm sure that a lot of people have different situations. But for me, it's very uncommon for especially a group of birds to swim into a spread and feel comfortable.
Right.
It feels to me, in my experience, that they get 50, 60 yards away, and they start to get a little weary, and they'll start to kind of turn sideways and look over and try to, figure out what's going on. Very rarely do they just paddle right into it.
Right.
And to hear that these public land wood ducks in Southeast Virginia were swimming through the spread, swimming past decoys to get up to the animator, was just a very, very unique thing for me to hear. And we're super excited to get this out to people. We're getting real close to the release of this product. We've sold about 550 units. We only have about 900 units. So we're unfortunately getting close to selling out.
Right.
And we're going to have to put it in another order before the season really even kicks off, because this thing has turned into a monster that is it's really changing the way people are using their spinning wing decoys. So we're really excited about it.
Well, you better get your inventory built up, because down here in the southern states, Arkansas included, that our seasons don't come in until the middle part of November. So we're still, over a month away from season. So you got a lot of people who haven't even half the country who's not even getting close to their season yet, that are really going to be wanting to try this thing out. And I agree with you 100%. When I first talked with you on the phone a while back, I was telling you, after I'd heard you on the podcast, I looked up Bluebird Waterfowl on Instagram and, saw some videos and saw some clips. And that was the one thing that struck me the most was, the animator is number one thing is creating motion on the water from a spinning wing decoy, which, has never been achieved unless you just very loosely stuck it in the ground and you got a little bit of wobble out of the stake or pole that holds it up. But even with that being said, you didn't get very much motion. You might have a slight ripple. Well, this thing is sending, almost waves throughout the spread,
Easy now.
Well,
that does the, well, let me stop you there, because that depends on your decoy.
That's true.
Like some motors, like the King Mallard by Mojo, has a very strong motor in it. Takes a lithium battery, and you put an animator on that thing, especially if you use it without the wings. And you're right, this thing is gnarly, throwing a lot of wake. But you put that thing on an old Lucky Duck that takes a couple of AA batteries, you're going to get a slow, steady pat from the wings, and you're not going to get waves, but you'll get ripples. I would say that I want to be careful about that, because I don't want to create any expectation that this thing's going to be throwing wake across your spread. It does create a perpetual motion ripple, which is
Right.
exactly, I think what you're trying to portray
Yeah.
is the uniqueness behind hitting the water from a stationary bird has never been done before. So that paddle hitting the water in the same spot over and over again is creating that wave, that literal wave that's moving away from the decoy, and it grows as it expands across the spread.
Right. And with that being said, with those slight waves and ripples that it's constantly making, all that's doing is everything around it. Now your steel plastic decoys, now they're starting to move. So
Yep.
everything it has a slight motion within the spread, but it's like you said, the bonus feature that, like you said, y'all didn't even realize you were going to achieve from the product is the sound. And
Right.
the Instagram clips and little Instagram reels and stuff that I've seen on it and heard on it is it. If I closed my eyes and I was sitting in a marsh, it sounds like if you've ever been around some coots or some ducks that got up off the water.
Yep.
It's that pitter patter of their feet and their wings slapping that water. And with you talking about what those wood ducks did, you know, it sounds like I've also been doing some scouting before and eased up within 50, 60 yards from a good group of mallards that were feeding pretty heavy, and that water sound is there. The other ducks lighting on the water, the ducks ducking their heads underwater and their little feet kicking and slapping the water.
Yep.
There is a noise there, and
Yep.
that's drawing those ducks over there, or it is going to draw those ducks over there. It's thinking, what's going on over there? There's something. These birds they're into something. What are they in? So
Right.
it sparks that curiosity. And you made a comment just a second ago that I had a question for you. I wanted to know if the animator could be used without the wings, and which you answered that shortly just a few minutes ago. Said it could be used without the wings, which is going to be a huge benefit for us southern duck hunters, because for us the spinning wing decoy is not as effective as it is like when I travel to Nebraska or Kansas and places like that, Missouri. When I hit the road for duck season, it's extremely effective up there. But time the birds get down here to South Alabama, Mississippi, and places I hunt down here, they have seen every spinning wing decoy, every mojo, every Higdon pulsator, every jerk rig from Manitoba all the way down to here, and they'll flare off of a spinning wing decoy in a heartbeat. So
Yep.
that would be how I would use it, down here where my home area. I would run it without the wings to eliminate that flash and eliminate them possibly flaring off of that flash, but try to
Right.
spark the curiosity of what is that noise? What's going on down there?
Right. Yeah, and we've got another product coming out that's going to help with that. In fact, I'll tell you about one. I can't tell you about another.
I
But
understand.
the one that we've got coming out is called the wingsuit, and we're in prototype phase right now with the utility patent pending on the wingsuit. Is designed to be attached to basically any decoy that you have, and it's a full spread of wings, digital print, over a material that's set over a frame. And this will attach using iron-filled silicone cable right over the head of your decoy, and it wraps around the base of it. So you can put this full spread of wings and manipulate and bend them however you like to take the place of those spinning wings. So that way you don't just have a decoy out there with no wings. You can have the animator on there. You can be getting that clapping sound, and you can still supply the birds with something to look at. And I would argue that the wingsuit might be bigger than the animator come time of its fruition, because it adds an entirely new 3D element to your spread.
Right.
So if you're out there and you've got 4 or 5 dozen decoys out there and all of them are the same shell, they got different paints, but they're basically the same wingless shell.
Right.
And if you're not using spinning wing decoys, then you've got very little out there that actually shows a bird that there's live birds down there. So now envision for a second that same decoy spread, 5 or 10 dozen decoys out there, and you've got a wingspan off of a floating decoy. You got a wingspan off of a floater that looks like the bird's just out there stretching its wings. Like,
Right.
you got 10 dozen decoys out there. You got 3 to 5 of these wingsuits spread out around different patterns. We've got widgeon, teal, mallard, pintail, and we're coming out with a honker and a snow goose. But this device not only adds an entirely new 3D element to your spread to kind of make the spread look a little bit more alive, a little bit more 3D, up off the water, showing live birds. But if there's even a breath of wind, these decoy wings pick up that wind and they'll throw your floater all over your spread.
Awesome.
So it doesn't take much of a breath of wind. In fact, that's why we had to pull the brakes on it, because right now we're battling. If you get a gust of wind, it picks them up too strong and it'll flip the bird over.
Uh-oh.
So we're dealing with some situations with the wingsuit right now to kind of fine tune it and get it ready for public use. But I can promise you this: BluebirdWaterfowl.com is going to come out with a variety of different decoy accessories that you can use to bring your spread back to life, to add new elements to it that you haven't done before. So you could take that pile of decoys in the backyard and bring them out and put these wingsuits on them and put these animators on them and change the dynamic of how you've been hunting all these years, because there's a lot of potential that's not being touched there. And I think that we found a hole right there.
Oh, I agree. You know, like you said, everybody, every duck hunter has got decoys, but the vast majority of them are not going to go and spend hundreds of dollars on, lucky duck swimmers and those type of things, on just a single decoy. Whereas if they could buy this product that will fit, this universal that will fit any decoy, and create the same effect, achieving motion in the spread by just adding an accessory to their current decoys. That's a huge thing, because there's nothing else out there like that. There's no other company is offering anything like that. So that's
Yep.
I think it could be huge, man. I'm really excited to see how that's going to play out too, man. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, and we've got our Bluebird Waterfowl secret sauce, man. We got some things that we don't talk about. The reason that these things work the way that they do.
Right.
And the bottom line is, this thing's working. It's being proven across the country. Our prototype testers in Alaska are having the same exact results as we're seeing in Oklahoma, the same exact results we're seeing in Tennessee. And now we've just got this last prototype test coming back from Virginia, and we're seeing the same exact result. The birds want to be on the decoy when the animator is attached to it. And that is a huge revelation. That's a huge deal, because I can't tell you how many times birds have swam up to my spread and they just get weary. They just change their attitude.
Right.
And to finish birds, these guys out in Oklahoma, Alan, they're telling me that they've got teal, that they've been hunting these teal for 10 or 15 years in this area, in this particular area, and these birds don't stop.
Right.
This is pass shooting.
Right.
These are teal buzzing you over the back of your head, right? But these birds with the animator are acting completely differently. They buzz by, they hear it. Right. They see the splash underneath the wings, and they're coming back around, and they're actually working, and they're actually finishing and landing in the spread. They're seeing that same thing with these wood ducks. The Eric Hale from Southeast Virginia told me that there was a hen wood duck that literally tried to land on top of it. Right. They couldn't even shoot the bird because it was so close. It was so close to the decoy.
And that's awesome, because that hasn't happened since the introduction of the spinning wing decoy, because they've all gotten educated on it. The early season ducks, your younger ducks, they suck into it pretty quick, pretty easy early on. But then if they've been shot a few times, they done figured that out. So as the years have progressed, and more and more motion decoys or spinning wing decoys are out there, and everybody's using them, that they get used to seeing that flash, and they just know, stay away from that. You're gonna get shot if you go down there. But you're definitely onto something there.
Absolutely, man. I don't know what this project is going to hold moving forward. I can only tell you what we're seeing right now.
Right.
And what we're seeing right now is a positive effect on weary birds that would normally not finish or work. These birds are getting comfortable with the sound. They're trying to get involved with the spread because of the sound. and it's right here in the patent, dude. We've got this thing completely covered top to bottom to protect ourselves, because we're just a small company and we stumbled upon something huge. And I've said this on each podcast that I'm at. You know, if there's any guys out there that are listening that have an idea about taking this thing and running with it, just don't do it.
Right.
Like, give us a chance to do what we're doing, because everybody deserves a chance. We're a small company. I got a small family, and I think this is going to be as big as the spinning wing decoy. And I'm going to tell you why. It took me a while to feel that way.
Right.
And it kind of correlates with what you just said. We haven't seen birds finish and suck into a decoy since the advent of the spinning wing decoy.
Right.
But now we've not only got the visual aspect of the flash, which is scientifically proven to attract birds, which is why in so many places, like California, for instance, we're not allowed to use them for the young birds. They're too deadly.
Right.
We've now got this sound, the sound aspect, which has never been introduced to waterfowl hunting, a natural sound. It's all vocal calls.
Right.
It's all vocal calls. In turkey hunting, we scrape the leaves to get them to think the turkeys are feeding. It's a natural sound. And deer hunting, we're rattling antlers against, and we're doing them up against the trees. It's a natural sound.
Right.
Right? In all these other sports, we've got these natural sounds except for waterfowl hunting. And Bluebird Waterfowl is at the forefront of introducing that principle into a wild animal hunt. All other wild animals have natural sound calls. Why don't waterfowl have natural sound calls? It's all vocal calls. And if you talk to old timers, you'll hear some guys talk about patting their hand on the water.
Right.
Right? It's not ripples they're trying to make. It's that sound that they're trying to make. Well, it is a deadly sound. And now everyone in the country, in fact, even up to Canada, down into Mexico, and we got a couple orders from Venezuela, everyone around this country has the opportunity to get involved with this innovation early.
Right.
And I would argue that this is going to be a very big deal for waterfowl hunting. And I'm just hoping that nobody tries to come in and take what we've discovered, because we just want an opportunity to spread this. We think it's going to be absolutely huge. I think you're absolutely right. The correlation of the sound along with the spinning wing decoy, dude, it's starting the spinner all over again. It's bringing that deadliness back.
It's going to be extremely effective. You know, I honestly believe that. Just, you know, because, you know, I think about, you know, the times that I've hunted the timber in Arkansas, which anybody who knows, on public land in Arkansas, you cannot use any motorized decoy at all. It can only be manually operated, like a jerk cord or something like that. But the big thing in the timber is kicking that water. And you're not kicking that water, you know, for the birds to see the motion. They're coming to that sound, because in the timber they can't see your decoys. They can't fly the trees and see your decoys, but they hear that sound, and it sounds like the raft of ducks, you know, lighting on the water, hitting that water, feeding, playing, whatever they're doing down there. So that's the big thing in Arkansas in the timber, is kicking that water and making that sound. Along with your duck call, it makes it sound like a raft of ducks in the woods. Now, as effective as that is in Arkansas, that theory, that tool, you can't kick water in a prairie marsh, because it's going to give you away, because you have nothing to hide against, like a tree. You may be sitting in a layout bloat or layout blind or something like that, but if you start splashing where you are, then the ducks in the prairie marsh, they can see your decoys, and the motion is not coming from the decoys, so it's going to flare up. It's going to give your hide away versus where your decoys are, and that's not what you want to do. But the animator is achieving that sound, giving you that motion in the spread in a prairie marsh that can be seen while the ducks work, and it doesn't give away your location as a hunter. So I think it's, I mean, I'm telling you, I think it's going to be, I think the results at the end of this season and the feedback that you're going to get, man, is going to knock your socks off.
I agree with you, man. It's been really tough for me. I'll be honest with you. It's been really tough for me. I've been thinking a lot about this project, and there is an aspect of potential failure, right? Like, what do we do if this doesn't work?
Right.
And putting out the prototypes and waiting so long for the results to come back, dude, my nerves were just through the roof. I mean,
right.
I'm sitting here clawing my hair out, right? Because I'm wondering, is this thing scaring the birds?
Right.
Is the sound scaring the birds? Because I really believed in my heart that it wouldn't, that it would draw them in. It just sounds too real. And when we got the first report back, dude, I was just overjoyed. I'm getting chills now thinking about how blessed we are to have stumbled upon this. And then we get the second report back, and they're doing the exact same thing across the world. And then we get another report back all the way from across the country again, doing the exact same thing. And we're seeing ducks all over the country right now. Reports are pouring in that these things are making a big difference. They are helping finish birds, and it's available right now. So we're actually, I'm not sure when you plan on airing this podcast, but right now, it's highly likely you can head online, bluebirdwaterfowl.com, and pick one of these up. We are running a little low on stock. We got about 300 left. And that's going to be it for I think for this season. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to reorder. This project has cost my family a little over $50,000. We've put everything we have into it, and we've designed an extremely good quality product. We have carbon fiber rods that are hollow, so they float. So if you drop them, they float. The plate's made of polypropylene, so it floats. The head pieces, the camshafts are designed with heavy duty nylon. They call it plastic cement. Mm-hmm. And these things are not indestructible, but they're hard to break.
Right.
And we've taken all the time to put this into the packaging and the product and the presentation and the advertising to try to let people know that this is available. And we put our heart and soul into this, dude. And I can't agree with you more. I think there's major potential for this to be huge. But we're just taking it one day at a time, trying to share the actual results with people as it comes, and that's what we're up to.
Right. Well, I have a question about it. I got some notes written down here, some things I wanted to ask about it because I don't have my hands on the product yet. I haven't gotten my hands on it yet, just to see it and how it goes together and everything. But you were talking about the material that the components are made from. One thing that was on my mind, that I've experienced in the past with some, spinning wing decoys and plastic parts and, attachment points and things like that, is when you get in really cold weather, and I'm talking, below freezing, that plastic gets really brittle and it can crack on you and things like that. So the Animator, the way it will attach to the decoy, can it be left on there, or does it have to be removed every time that you take up your decoys and put them back out? I'm just trying to think about, taking it on and off. How much abuse do you think the attachment part on the wing assembly, how much abuse can it take in cold weather and that type of environment?
We're still waiting to see what this thing does in cold weather, but I can tell you this: we designed it with 4mm thick nylon. These aren't thin, skimpy little parts.
Right.
They are heavy duty, but I would recommend. In fact, one of our prototype testers kept it on his bird. He had the wing on, he had the Animator on the duck, and he put the whole thing in his truck with the wings attached, which I don't know about you, but I don't travel like that.
Nah.
At least take the wings off.
Right.
But so he opens up the bed of his truck, the decoy falls out, the wing hits the ground, Animator snaps in half. It's the weakest point, right?
Right.
So to answer your question, yeah, man, take this thing off. Take your wings off. I mean, I don't know any guy, unless you're leaving your birds out there, they're wired up, and you guys are hunting clubs and things like that, dude, absolutely leave it on. See if it breaks.
Right.
Tell me if it breaks, because we'll replace it for you, for one. For two, I want to know. I want to know how long this thing can last out in the sun and the wind and the rain, because this is a brand new product that's never been done before, and we want our prototype testers, and in fact, everybody who listens to this podcast and everybody who's purchased one already, dude, you guys are testers. You guys are in the Bluebird Waterfowl family. You guys are at the forefront of this technology and this innovation, and we all, as waterfowlers, need to work together as a community. Bluebird Waterfowl on Facebook, Bluebird Waterfowl on Instagram. All of us together need to work to figure out what we can do better, what's working, what's not. Absolutely. I would recommend if you're taking your bird out of the water, pack the Animator away. There's no reason to take the risk on leaving it on the bird or leaving it on the wing, and having that risk of that thing breaking, because it's not It's not designed to be roughhoused and
Right.
put in the bed of a truck and toss a bag of decoys on top of it. It is a small piece. It's designed that way so it's quiet. It is kind of delicate. It's designed that way so it's light.
Right.
We designed this piece to be a very subtle addition to your spinning wing decoy that doesn't make a huge presence, so these birds aren't spooked off of it. We did that on purpose.
Right.
So to answer your question, absolutely. We have a case option right now where you could get on bluebirdwaterfowl.com and get a bundle. The bundle has an option for 2 animators, which 2 full kits, a case, and a silent plate edition for $79. You can mix and match your animators in that kit, so you can have one for the Lucky Duck and one for the Mojo Elite. You can have a Mojo King Mallard and an Avian X Powerfly. You can mix and match however much whichever ones you want, and it comes in a case. The case, by the way, is designed to hold all your spinning wing accessories.
Okay.
There's a zipper pocket in the top of the case that holds your wings.
Okay.
You could put your remotes in there. You could put your AA batteries in there. You can have this whole thing zipped up, packed, and ready to go with 2 animator full kits, your silent plates, your remotes, and your wings all in one spot. So you know exactly where everything's at. When you're out there in the dark, you're not wrestling through a backpack that was full of decoys and camo trying to figure out where your wings are.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's a great opportunity to hop on that. I think $54.95 gets you an animator, a single animator kit, a case, and the silent plate. And then, we've got a variety of other options on there. Just head to bluebirdwaterfowl.com and check it out. There's as much info on there as you want, and there's also an 800 number on there, 800-564-0914. That's a direct line to my office. If I don't answer it, somebody in my family will answer it, and we'll get your questions answered.
Okay.
We're a community,
right?
Alan. Like we're all in this together, regardless of whether or not you purchase this completely blind of what it is. I want to hear from you. I want to know what's going on, and I want some feedback. I want to make sure you're happy with the product, and that the quality of the product is up to the standards of some of us rougher public land waterfowl hunters.
Right. Well, I'm like you. Whenever I break my decoys down, whether it be a pulsator or a spinning wing decoy, whatever, when I'm done for the day, I disassemble them completely. I don't leave them stuck on the pole. I don't leave the wings on, but on the other hand, I do know some people that do. I know some people that put their wings on, and they ain't never took them off ever, And that's just how they haul them around, So that was the reason for asking that question was if there's somebody who's listening who is that type of person who just leaves their spinning wing decoy on the pole with the wings on it, leaves it laid in their boat or in the back of their truck, and for that matter, that's why I was curious about that question.
I'll share a secret with you. I designed the case to be able to hold the animator while it's still on the wing.
Okay.
So the inside the case has a cavity for 2 animators. It has 2 cavities for 2 plates, and it has cavities that can hold up to 6 carbon fiber rods.
Okay.
They're designed to hold all these products, but I designed the cavity for the animator camshaft specifically to hold the animator while it's still attached to the wing. So if you're that guy that doesn't like to take your wings off and you want to keep them on your bird, at least take the animator off and put it in the case with the wing on it. Because you guys, this is a brand new product. It's not what you think it is. When you get it, you're going to be like, wow, this thing is crazy looking.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is a rad little product. It's designed to be sneaky, and it's doing its job all across the country.
Right. Well, that brings up the next question, and I know you've done some research and development in this area because I know you and I have talked about it before. But for the listeners who may be thinking, you said the product is you made it as light as possible, but as durable as possible as well. What can someone expect as far as the battery life on their decoys? Does it affect the speed of the wings? Does it lessen the battery life? I mean, what have you learned in that department with your R&D time?
So we've ran these things for hundreds of hours. I've ran them in my backyard. My neighbors are probably going crazy. I mean, I ran them all summer long, Alan. Like you wouldn't, like the backyard's full of decoys smacking the water. And we take them in, we charge the batteries, and we put them back out. We're keeping track of the battery life constantly. And then we have our control decoys. We're spinning them without the decoys on, without the animators on them. We've also got decoys that are running the animator out of water, just to see exactly how long it lasts that way. We haven't seen any significant measurable difference in battery life. Okay. For a one-day hunt, you'll be able to use your bird just like normal and go out and hunt with it exactly as long as you used to. In fact, out at the Game Fair in Minnesota, my partner, David Maestas from The Finisher, he was out there and he was running this on a Lucky Duck with 4 AA batteries. And it lasted the entire first day show, the entire second day show, and into the third day, it got slow and died about 2 hours before our control of the Lucky Duck decoy that was being ran at the Lucky Duck booth.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about a decrease in battery life, sure. If you're going to run your decoy nonstop for 2 days straight, yeah, you might lose an hour or two.
Yeah, well,
as far as wing speed goes, that's where you're going to see the biggest difference here, guys. And I would argue that a lot of these birds are spinning their wings too fast.
Yeah,
they're not getting that deep strobe that you need, that thick, healthy strobe that you need, that black, white. Like you want that strobe to be able to attract these birds. When you spin them so fast that they look gray,
right,
you're losing the principle behind the strobe. So that's number one. Number two is if you attach an animator to your bird, you can expect 10 to 15% decrease in wing speed. And we've measured this across the board on multiple birds.
Uh-huh.
So if you add a second animator to your bird, which is not recommended for the older birds or the AA battery birds, you want to use them on like the king mallard or the avian X, some large bird with a lithium battery.
Right.
They can run 2 animators. But if you're going to add a second animator to your bird, you can expect another 10 to 15% decrease in wing speed. So if you're running 2 animators, you're looking at a 20 to 30% decrease in wing speed.
Right.
Now, I say that's good. I think that's healthy to have that wing strobing a lot slower. It's not significantly slower. It's going to be difficult for you to see unless you take the wing off and then plug it back on.
Right.
It's going to be hard for you to tell exactly how much slower it's spinning.
Right.
But as far as motor life, I got one thing to say, man. Mojo is one of the top companies, if not the top company of spinning wing decoys. And I would only say that because I think Lucky Duck might be sneaking in there. Mojo created this thing. Uh-huh. They had the patent on this product.
Uh-huh.
All right? These guys are using the motors, the brushed motors, running off AA batteries to start. Now they're kicking them up to 6-volt, larger black batteries, and now the King Mallard's got that lithium battery.
Right.
These guys invented a product called the Booty Shaker. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Booty Shaker, but the Booty Shaker is a rod that attaches to the stake that goes into the ground.
Right.
So you got your stake into the mud, you put the booty shaker on that stake, and then you put your bird on over the top of the booty shaker.
Right.
Now that rod that comes off the stake touches the surface of the water. And as the bird spins its wings, it's supposed to shake the water underneath, like you mentioned in the beginning of this show.
Right.
But what happened was it wasn't shaking enough. So what did Mojo do? They took a counterweight, and they put it on one of the wings to legitimately, intentionally shake their entire body of their duck.
Right.
By using the motor shaft. So you've got the engineers behind the backbone of this entire spinning wing decoy world, right, acknowledging the fact that it's extremely hard to break these motors.
Right.
You can't just add a little wiggle to it and it's going to tear your motor up and tear it apart. We don't know what's going to happen in the future 4, 5, 6 years from now.
Right.
But I can tell you this, our product is extremely lightweight. The rods weigh 8 grams and the plate weighs less than that. This is like a little tiny piece of air hanging off the side of your bird. And when it's impacting the water, it's not just shaking the bird like crazy. It's actually stabilizing the bird so it has a nice little wiggle, but it's not freaking out. The bird isn't going to shake like the wiggle does on that booty shaker.
Right.
And that's if I had to get philosophical with you, that's my argument.
Right.
Is that the guys who created this product understand the strength of these motors. They're designed for this type of abuse, and the animator applies a tiny little bit of shake to the motor. Bluebird Waterfowl can't be held responsible if your bird isn't working, because we don't know exactly how you've dealt with your bird in the past. We don't know how you're using the animator in the future. This is kind of a use it at your own risk kind of a product, guys. But I'm telling you right now, we've ran these for hundreds of hours. We've done the testing. We've seen no negative results and like super low, unmeasurable amounts of battery loss, and 10 to 15% wing decrease. So if you're going to talk about the effect that the Animator has on the bird, of course it has an effect. But you know what has more of an effect? The sound on those finishing birds.
Right.
So if you're out there to kill birds and you're not just out there to sit on your butt, dude, try the Animator out. Check it out. If you don't like it, just call me, 800-564-0914, and I'll take your call, and we'll work through it together to figure out what's not working for you and how to make it better.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. Since the spinning wing decoy came out, it seems like each year, or maybe if not each year, but every time they introduce a newer version, of the Mojo, like the King Mallard, and then they started the mini series, and then Lucky Duck had the Lucky Duck HD, and then they had the Lucky Duck HDI, and all this stuff. They keep progressing. The motors are progressing with the decoy as well. They're getting stronger motors. They're lasting longer. They're becoming more and more waterproof, more resistant to the elements, those sort of things. So, I think it'll be fine. But like I said, that was, I know that you and I have had talked about that previously. But just for the listeners' purpose, that's the first thing people are going to think about. God, yeah, I'm adding something on there. What's it going to do to my battery life and all that. But I think it's going to be awesome, man. I am pumped for this season. I was already pumped for this season. Now I'm just super more pumped for the season because I've got a new toy to play with that's revolutionary in the waterfowl world. And man, I am super stoked. I remember how excited I was when the Higdon come out with the pulsator. I was like, oh, this is going to be a game changer. And it works, but it's not that effective. It does work, to an extent, but it doesn't. It's not very realistic.
I think it has strictly to do with the motor sound.
That
I think these birds
it's
hearing
too loud.
are so much more delicate and aware than we even understand.
Right.
I mean, these little tiny pintail whistles and widgeon whistles where you're just barely blowing on those things because the birds are call sensitive at the end of the season, but you can get them with the whistle, right?
That's right.
How is that you're pulling birds down from 150 yards with a gentle widgeon whistle or a gentle teal call, right? You're not on there blasting it away because you're not stupid.
Right.
You're not going to be out there blowing this call as hard as you can because everybody else did all the way down the coastline, and now you're down here in South Texas and you're waiting for these birds to finish. These ducks are still responding to gentle calling.
Right.
So that begs the question: how good is their hearing? And all of these motorized birds that are coming out, the motion birds are taking over the industry.
Right.
But I actually sent a letter to Tim No of Lucky Duck, and I told him, I said, we're not done with the spinning wing decoy yet. Don't give up on the spinning wing decoy yet, because I argued that the spinning wing decoy has just come back to life with the Animator.
Oh yeah.
I think it's going to bring back a whole new series. I think it's going to change the game, and I think that I'm really hoping that one of these guys come in and want to help us out with our project, and they don't just try to steal it from underneath us. Right. I'm hoping one of these guys come in and say, George, you've done it. Let's do this together, because my family's ready for a big change. We've worked real hard on this project, and like I said many times, dude, I think this is going to be much bigger than anybody understands, and it all comes down to the classic spinning wing decoy, a silent addition that claps the water with a very natural nature sound, not a vocal call. Right. I think that's what's going to change the game, and we're seeing it already.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like I had briefly mentioned earlier about, being able to use it without the wings. Nowadays people, a lot of hunters, and I'm guilty of it myself, you start working some birds and they flare, whether they flare off of whether they saw you. But the first thing duck hunters want to resort to is they flare. It's the spinner. We got to pull the spinner. Well, they very well could have flared off the spinner. But now, if you think that they flared off the spinner, now instead of pulling the spinner completely out of play, pull the wings off of it. And you still have got the motion, and you've still got the audio that this device is going to create. So you've still got motion, you've still got the audio, your spread is still alive, and you're still able to utilize your motorized decoy, which is a tool for us duck hunters.
Right.
So it doesn't completely take it out of play. If you think the flash is flaring them, pull the wings and let the motion do the job. So
that's right.
I think
that's where this product started from, Alan. That's where this thing began, was Why are we wasting these batteries? Why are we wasting these ducks in our garages for more than half the season for California hunters? Why are we not utilizing this perfectly shaped, like a duck, lithium battery powered machine that could be doing something for us? We already have it out there. Use it to its best advantage, and the Animator brings a whole new life to that product, dude. It's going to bring it back, and it's going to be stronger than ever, wingless or winged.
Oh yeah, it is. I honestly believe it. You know, I'm like I said, you know, you can just simply pull those wings, and you still can use this, you know, $200 decoy that you spent all this money on, that you have done convinced yourself in your head. Because I mean, let's face it and admit it, duck hunters can be some of the most negative people when it comes to, you know, ducks not working or not wanting to commit. You know, everything's wrong, you know. So that's the first thing
Right.
we resort to, is what's wrong. And the first thing everybody wants to do is, we got to pull the spinner, or we got to move the spinner, you know. And now, like I said, just take those wings off of there, and you've still got that motion, which every duck hunter knows. When it comes to a decoy spread, you can be the best duck caller in the world, you can have the best hide in the world, but motion is key. Them ducks period, are not gonna light on the water when it's glass and those decoys are just sitting there motionless. The motion is key. I mean, you can go out there, and I know people who have hunted in the timber or hunted in prairie marshes over their decoys with nothing but a jerk rig, and just didn't even blow a call because they were scared that the ducks were call shy, because they done got stale. They've been in the area for a while. What the weather's warmed up. They hadn't got a fresh push of birds, and they just laid off the call, and they just sit out there and just slightly pulled on that jerk rig. But the motion is what brought those ducks in there, and you have taken the work out of it for a duck hunter. He don't have to sit there and pull the string so much. Now he's got motion, and he's getting an audio form from the decoy. So I think it's awesome, man. I think it's 100% going to be revolutionary, and I know it's just a matter of time before we see this product on Outdoor Channel as a commercial. I think it's going to be a huge deal, man. I really do.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind words, man. Eric Hale has already taken us under his wing with Red Rising TV. If you guys haven't checked out Red Rising TV, check that out. He puts out a few episodes a year,
Yep.
a couple million viewers, and I'm sure it's just going to keep growing. But
Oh yeah.
Eric Hale has gone out of his box to take us under his wing and say, dude, I believe in this product. I know that this thing is going to change the game for waterfowl hunters, and they're going to be helping us out just by hunting with it. I didn't even ask him to talk about it or nothing. I just go out there and hunt with it, dude. Just be honest.
That's
Tell
right.
me if it's working. Tell me if it's not. And Eric Hale has been one of the most the strongest supporters of this project since it started. And you know, we've got just a giant community of people who've been super supportive. And I think you're absolutely right, dude. I think this thing is going to go. It's going to take hunters places they've never been before, because this innovation of this sound has never been done before.
Well, it's just going to be revolutionary, and the thing about it is, it's going to sell itself. You know, but it's early in the season for most people. Some people are just now getting into their early seasons. You know, seasons kicking off for some people, but the vast majority of the state or the country has not gotten into their waterfowl season yet. But as this thing hits the ground running, hits the marshes, hits the timber or the public ground, wherever people are going to be using that, it's going to sell itself. And you know, just like I do, when the spinning wing decoy hit the ground, you know, some people were probably kind of leery about it, but that all it took was that one guy to go out there and have some success with it, and it went like wildfire. You know, and I honestly believe that's what's going to happen with this product. I think, you know, we're definitely gonna have to touch base again about end of January, first part of February, because I really want to hear what George Parker's thoughts are on how the Animator has, and how Bluebird Waterfowl has went throughout the season, because I honestly believe it's gonna sell itself. I mean, it's gonna be a remarkable product.
Yeah, I truly hope so. I mean, we're just praying to God that things go well, and trying to put everything up to Him, because I think this has honestly been His hand in changing our lives as just a small family's been struggling here in the Bay Area in California. It's very, very expensive to live here. Our kids go to school here, and
Right.
you know, just to have this innovation take off the way that it has so far. it's just all up to him. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And how this product produces and moves forward is I got a feeling. I got a good feeling it's going to be good.
Oh wow. Well, I honestly do believe, man. I believe the Lord is behind it. I'm a man of faith myself, and I can feel I'm feeding off of your energy. I can tell, and I know the listeners can too. The excitement and the enthusiasm that you have about the product, and of course, I mean, who wouldn't? Anybody who has come up with a product or invented a product like this, of course, you're going to be fired up about it. But you have seen and been a part of all of the research and development. Plus, you're getting it out across the country, getting it in people's hands. They're trying it, they're testing it, they're trying to find out where the weak points are, if there are any, and how effective it is. And you're getting this feedback back, and it's all positive. And like I said, I haven't even got my hands on one yet. I can't wait to do so. But the video clips I've seen on Instagram and other places, man, it's when I saw it after I had heard you on the Dr. Duck podcast, I said, I have got to get up with Mr. George. And I did, and luckily, to my surprise, you responded. Matter of fact, I think you responded the same day that I contacted you. I was blown away. I was like, all right, this is rolling. This is going to be awesome, and then we had some conflicting with schedules, my schedule, your schedule. I've been extremely busy, and I know you have too, so I've been keeping up with you on Instagram, so I know you've been extremely busy too, going to shows and doing things like that, trying to get your product out there and get it promoted and get it out to the users before season gets kicked off. And man, I am just extremely excited to pumped to see where this is going to go for you.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of the work myself, man. I really have, and I know we're getting short on time, but the last thing I kind of want to touch base with is I have put my blood into this project, and I do all the advertising myself. I do all the ads myself. I create all the videos myself, so I'm sure you could tell because some of them aren't that great. But even today. We wanted a particular shot of this device. We want to get a picture of what the plate looks like when it hits the water.
Right.
Because there's 14 cavities and 7 open cavities, spit water 7 different ways, and 14 cups that hit the water that make this clapping sound. It's a patented design.
Right.
And we wanted to get a picture of that, and I wanted to get a good photo. So I reached out to somebody here locally, a dive shop, and I said, hey, do you know anybody that takes underwater photography? And he goes, dude, I know a guy that works with National Geographic. He's in Nova Scotia right now shooting humpback whales. I'll give him your number when he comes back. And just today, which is why I was a little late for this podcast, we finished up our shoot with one of the best underwater photographers in the world. To have him come out and take these photos for us in support of the project has just been an absolute blessing. And we're going to continue to do the hard work ourselves, which I'm hoping will be a testament to others that may think about ripping this project off or taking this and running with it, knowing that we're patent pending. Don't do it. Don't do it. I can tell you right now, don't do it, because we'll fight you. We're going to put everything we got into making sure that this product and project stays with our family. We've been doing this from the beginning ourselves. We're going to continue to do the work ourselves. You call that number, you're going to get me on the phone answering your questions. I've called almost every client that's purchased a product from us personally, trying to talk to them about it, let them know what to expect. We want to be involved with everybody that has to do with this project. And, Alan, thank you so much for having us on. And, just to be able to spread the word about this, because it's a very big deal. I think we've covered that, and it's going to be a very big deal moving forward.
Oh, I believe so. But, man, I have really enjoyed having you on here. I hope our listeners are going to be as excited about this product as I am. Tell the listeners once again where they can find you at, and how they can get in contact with you if they want to, get some eyes on some video clips through Instagram or whatever you may have on your website. Just kind of let them know how they can find you and find your product.
Yeah, it's Bluebird Waterfowl. So BLUEBIRD. It's real simple. Our products are designed for Bluebird days, so that's where we came up with the name. But Bluebird Waterfowl at Instagram, Bluebird Waterfowl on Facebook. BluebirdWaterfowl.com will get you onto that project to pick yours up. We're still in pre-order mode for another few days. I think today is October 7th or something? What day is it?
Today is the 9th. The 9th.
The 9th. So a few more days, you're going to be able to get those pre-order 40% off. But if you're listening to this podcast and on YouTube, if you're listening to this podcast, or where podcasts are listened to, and it's after those dates, let's put out a code out there. All lowercase black belt get you 20% off, just for being a part of launching this project. Black belt, all lowercase. I'll set that up tonight, so that way your listeners can get a piece of this project at a little bit more affordable rate. Because once we launch this project, we're going up to standard pricing. Standard pricing is $54.95 for one Animator kit. Okay.
Okay.
You know, we try to keep it affordable. We try to keep it reasonable, but you know, this has cost us a lot of money, and we've basically been giving these things away. So,
right.
You know, if this podcast launches early enough, you can catch that pre-order. Who knows? That pre-order sale might still be going on when you hear this. Check it out, bluebirdwaterfowl.com. And if it's not, use that code BLACKBELT. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I didn't really ask you. I just kind of threw that out there.
No, but, man, that's all on you, buddy.
I do want your listeners to know that I appreciate all the support of guys listening to this, and you know, get 20% off. If it's not on sale, you can use that code to get a little discount for yourself.
Okay, man, that's awesome. I know I appreciate that, and I know they will too. Also, they need to be watching on the Black Belt Waterfowl YouTube channel, because once I get my hands on the product, there will be a product review video out there, as well as I will be using it this upcoming season as I travel across the country. Those of you who follow the channel, you know that I hit the Midwest pretty hard and all across the South. So y'all be watching for that. There will be a review video, as well as you'll see it in action during the hunts. So y'all be looking for that. I appreciate the support on here on the Duck Roost Podcast. Give me a follow. Be sure to leave me a rating. I'd appreciate the support on here. I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also go check out the YouTube channel at Black Belt Waterfowl. Subscribe to the channel. Drop me a like and drop a comment down below in the videos. I'd appreciate your feedback and your support. And that's all I've got for you this week, guys, and we will catch y'all on the next one.